A while ago, I recorded a video on world building and how I do it in particular. And somebody in one of the comments just challenged me to go through my various stories and give examples of what I was talking about. And I thought, that's actually a fantastic idea. It's always good for me to refresh these concepts. So I thought I'd record this video and see if you could pick out the stories I'm talking about based on the core concept and boundaries that I originally used. We're going to see how well I did in maintaining the world building from the core kernel of an idea into the expanded novel form. Now, before we get into that, I just want to give a little bit of a refresher what I'm talking about when I say core concept and boundaries. The world building methodology that I use originates in the WorldCraft Club podcast. This is a podcast that me and some friends have been doing for a few years, and together with my buddy James, we came up with a specific world building methodology that I have used in every single one of my books. It's very simple. First, you pick a core concept. A core concept is a feeling that you want your visitant, your reader, to have, and from which you're going to extrapolate everything. This is the center of your world. This is the very foundation of it. This is sort of the idea that sparks all of the other ideas. And then boundaries are a list of things that you are not going to do, a list of places you're not going to visit, a list of rules that you won't break. And by picking a single core concept and a few boundaries, you can make an entire world. Now, everything in your world is going to relate back to that core concept, and it's going to be hemmed in by those boundaries. And by following this simple methodology, you can build incredible worlds. So I'm going to give you a core concept and boundaries for a couple of my worlds, and I want you to let me know if you figure out which world it is before I tell you what series it's from. The first world, the core concept was very, very simple. There are monsters around every corner. That was the feeling that I wanted the readers to have. And not just monsters, but terrifying monsters. There are terrifying monsters around every corner. And then once I had that in place, I set up some boundaries. The first boundary was simple. The main character cannot brute force his way out of any situations. Not, he can't brute force his way out of every situation. He can't brute force his way out of any situation. The second boundary was that the people in the world do not understand the depth of mystery around them. There are parts of the world that they are blind to. And then the third boundary was just no technology past what you would find in the Renaissance. And those were the criteria that I set to refine the core concept. So, have you guessed what story I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments if you got it, but the answer is Dreamer's Throne. In the world of Dreamer's Throne, there are monsters around every corner, and they are terrifying. The main character wakes up missing an arm and crippled from the waist down. He can't brute force his way out of any situation. The world is shrouded in these layers of mystery, and the people who live in it are completely unaware of a lot of what's going on around them. And then finally, it's a sort of quasi-medieval setting with a little bit of a creeping into the Renaissance. I do mix some time periods pretty liberally in there. I always stay inside of that, right? There's no gunpowder, there's no advanced technology, despite the fact that there's magic. Everything has a very sort of late medieval vibe. So, from my explanation of the world, did you get it? Did you figure it out? When I started Dreamer's Throne, as complex as that world is, that's what I started with. Just those ideas. Okay, let's do another one. This is, again, the core concept. I wanted my reader to have the feeling of stepping into a town as the dusty stranger with a dark past. That's what I wanted them to experience. So that was my core concept. And then I put on some boundaries. The first boundary is The apocalypse cannot be avoided. Bad things are going to come, and they cannot be avoided. The second is that people are more important than power. And the third was simply no guns. And the reason I had to add that last one in is because that whole idea of the stranger covered in dust stepping into a town, hiding his dark past, is a real big theme in a certain genre. And that genre also revolves around, guns. So I'm sure that you've figured this out already. I'm sure that you've understood what world I'm talking about and what series I'm talking about. If you have, definitely let me know in the comments. If you didn't, definitely let me know in the comments, because I will be surprised. But of course, this world that I'm talking about is the world of Battle Mage Farmer. From the very opening pages, I do my best to give the reader that feeling. John is coming into a new town, and he is the mysterious stranger with the dark past. But again, all of those boundaries kept the story in line. First of all, bad things can't be avoided. The apocalypse comes, and the characters all have to deal with that. Second, people are more important than power. So I never wanted to put my characters in a situation where they would choose power over the people around them. And then third, no guns. And why would you need guns when you have an infinite number of fireballs? Okay, let's do one more. And this one is very interesting because the world has definitely grown from this core concept. But I want to give it to you and see if you can get it. The core concept was limitless freedom and exploration. What I want my reader to experience in this world is a sort of wonder at what's over the horizon. What's going to come next? So that was the feeling that I wanted. That's the core concept. And everything that I've written, I've tried to bend back towards that core concept. But then there were some boundaries. The first boundary is very simple. It has to be fun. If it's not fun, can't happen. The second boundary was that there can be only one. The main character has to be unique. And the third boundary that I put into place was that there always has to be another level. So, have you figured it out? I would be really shocked if you haven't figured it out yet. But then again, see, I wrote all of these stories, and so it's really easy for me to identify these themes in them, and I'm really curious, have you identified the themes in them? Of course, with this story, I'm talking about the Titan series, Nova Terra Titan, the first book, and a series revolving around a very unique main character whose greatest wish is to have freedom and to explore what the world has to offer. So I hope that you've been able to see, as I've given these practical examples of core concept and boundaries, how I world build just on a basic level. Of course, there's a lot more that goes into the polishing of a world and the sort of fine-tuning of the world than we have time to get into now. But if you start here with a core concept and 3 boundaries, you're going to find yourself building amazing worlds, as long as you continually move back towards that core concept. I mean, if you've been following along John's story in Battle Mage Farmer, he is not in the valley anymore. He is not in a small town anymore. And yet, whenever he shows up somewhere, I want that feeling of the mysterious, dust-covered traveler who has a dark past. That's the feeling that I want to invoke. And so no matter where he goes, no matter what he does, he's always the mysterious stranger. He's always the man running from his past. He's always the hero struggling to reconcile who he is and who he wants to be. If you have a little bit of time, I would love it if you would put your core concept and your boundaries for your worlds in the comments below. And definitely go and check out the WorldCraft Club podcast. It's fantastic. We have a great time with it, and we've just moved to YouTube, so there's a bunch of videos, and it's absolutely worth subscribing and listening to the podcast. We also have a really cool community on Discord. I'll put links to everything down below because it is just a really, really good resource. The WorldCraft Club has done more to improve my own world building than any other resource I've ever encountered. As always, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you see these videos when they pop up. And I hope you have a fantastic day.